came here more or less relaxed. My question is about sitting. How much we should focus on how we're sitting when we're sitting supposedly relaxed.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, the thing is about sitting, you know, you want to generally, again, think of the same thing, like think of the marionette pulling you up, you want to be nice and tall. The thing about sitting generally is no matter how you sit, there's going to be stuff that's getting pulled ways that aren't great and stuff that's relaxing and that's, you know, it's not bad. You just want to move around a little bit, just kind of spread out the, you know, things. Just don't be stiff, you don't have to be rigid. Generally speaking, you want to be even. Like if you notice you're really hitched over, you know, if you're sitting like this a little bit, straighten yourself out. Yeah, there are times we have to sit and that's okay.
Many of us have longer thighs and legs than others.
Yeah.
And we have to cross our legs. Is that bad or good or indifferent?
There's nothing that's bad. It's just about how much you do it. It's about kind of favoring one position or movement pattern over others. You want to, I mean, in a grand scheme of things, you want everything to be relatively even. That's kind of the best way to put it. But yeah, I mean, people have longer legs, longer torsos, you know, and that's going to affect the positions that you have to sit in and move around in and all those things. So it's really, there's not one general position that everyone should be in. It's very different.
Any good suggestions on how to hold your cell phone?
Not really. I mean, if you know, you have to hold it like this to do what you're doing. But again, it's just the amount of time. Like, I mean, I don't, you know, I mean, everyone's patterns, everyone's habits are different. How much they use their phone. Some people are on their phone. They'll stare at YouTube videos for forever like this, you know. And then some people aren't on their phone very much, so it doesn't matter as much. So there's not really a real rule for that. I would just say if you notice that you're, you know, just notice your position. Notice if you're like this for a while, what's going to happen? You're going to get tight here. You're going to get just all the positions that we just talked about. So just pay attention to how that feels. And the more aware you are of how good posture feels, the more you'll know, oh man, you'll start to feel it. Like, I've been in this position for a while. I should stand up, take a breath, you know, or do something else. But yeah, cell phones they're not made for being in good posture. They're just not.
Yeah, I'm interested in getting into that good posture position. It's something I've worked on all my life, really. And the exercise that you have in the blog, and you've showed us in a little film, where you lie on your back and press the upper arms into the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And my impression is this is something it's like an exercise where you're doing reps, and if you do them consistently, your posture is going to improve. Is that right?
Yes, kind of. You know, but it's about how you apply it. So it's like with that exercise, it's showing you, because a lot of times people don't, like if I just, you know, if I have someone coming in who's never done any of this before, almost always when I say pull your shoulders back, they do this. You know, that's almost universal. If a random person walked in on the street and I closed my eyes, I could and just said you have tight shoulders, I'd be right like 95% of the time, without even looking at it. So what that exercise specifically is for is just learning how to feel it. So you're learning how to do it, but if you're just kind of doing it and not feeling it, there's no real effect. So if you were just really paying attention to it, getting into that position on the floor, and if you heard me coach that exercise, like I spend more time coaching the setup, just getting on the floor in a position without tension. I go through this whole list of things before we even do anything. Because if you're starting in a bad position, in bad posture, the exercise cannot work. It just won't work. So it's really about getting everything lined up so you can really feel that movement. And then once you really can feel it, then you can progress it, and then you feel it when you're standing up. So in that way, yes, it will help your posture.
So it's about awareness then
Mm-hmm.
of your physical
Yeah,
position.
exactly. Yeah, and it's teaching you that awareness. It's building that motor pattern in you as well. But if you're not really paying attention to what it's building, then it's not gonna do it a whole lot. And then again, you move on, you progress that exercise into different exercises, and then you start to be able to feel it.
I have a couple of questions. Number one, what you were telling Austin about, is that not muscle memory? And sort of the same thing as when you're dancing? If it feels like this, you're doing it right?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. That's the habit we're trying to build. But the key point is that you're trying to build a new habit over an old habit. And that just takes awareness. So when you're dancing and you're learning a new movement, the first time you do that movement, it's like it seems impossible. And then, fast forward, if you practice it correctly over however long you need to practice it, it just happens, you don't even think about it. That's the point you're trying to get to with the posture. It's the same thing.
Okay, another question. How many times have we been told, don't sit for more than half an hour, and then get up and move around? Is that, what is the significance of that?
Yeah, I mean, that is relatively true. And there's two things that do happen when you sit. First is, again, if you're sitting for an extended period of time, again, you start to get that rounded position there. The other thing that happens is you're here in your hip flexors, so your hip flexors get tight. Hip flexors are a whole other lecture. I could do a whole lecture on hip flexors and the effect that hip flexors have on all this stuff. But your hip flexors get tight. And your hip flexors are the muscles that pull your hips back or allow this motion to happen. So, just a real quick one. If your hip flexors are tight, your hips are going to be more in this position, which means that if I'm keeping my low back in a neutral position, I'm looking at the rug. If I want to look that way, again, all that movement comes right from my low back, and that does not feel good. So those are the things that happen when you sit for too long.
How about we all stand up now?
Yeah, okay. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, you can stand up if you need to stretch out. It's not a bad idea. But as far as one thing I will tell people, back when I was in the Bay Area, stand up if you need to. It's perfectly fine. When I had my gym in the Bay Area, there was a lot of tech workers, a lot of IT workers, and IT workers just sit in front of their computer from the second they start work till they stop work, 12 or 15 hours later in some cases. And what I would say is, all right, I understand that you can't stop work, take a walk, but what you can do is every half hour, at least stand up for a second, take a breath, do this, and then sit back down. So it's not perfect, but it's at least something.
That was good.
Yeah.
Okay. My third question was, there are so many things out there that tell you, this is what you need for good posture. Women especially have been told about bras that some are great for posture, and it's almost like you don't have to worry about it if you use it. Is there something that is an aid besides exercise?
There's a few things. There's a few of these, I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost like a strap that you kind of put on like a backpack that literally is like an elastic strap that pulls your shoulders back. There's a few different versions of that. And those can help, but they can also, if you wear those too long, they can get a little aggressive and kind of put you in another bad position. So there are some things that can help, but you don't want to rely on them. You don't want to get to that point. You want to be able to kind of just improve what you have going on yourself as much as you can.
Isometrics, whatever happened to it? I still practice it.
Oh, well, isometrics are great for certain things. We do some isometric work in the chair class and all the stuff that we do. Isometrics are good for strengthening very specific positions and evening very specific things out. So you just have to, it depends on the specific one you're doing. Doesn't really apply to posture so much, although it can in the hips a little bit. And this is getting into a longer conversation, but they're good, Not necessarily for what we're talking about today, but there's some things you can do with isometrics, sure. An isometric, by the way, is when you're kind of pushing against an immovable object and holding a position for a certain period of time. Like if I were just to push against this wall, then that's an isometric movement, and you can do some things with it for sure.
Okay, Mitch, this is a question that is not meant to perturb you at all. I've got an 85-year-old woman friend, and she doesn't like to exercise, period.
Okay.
And she'll say, what the heck? I'm 85, how much longer have I got? What's the point of trying to stand up tall and do all those crazy kind of things you're telling me about? And I would be like, you know what to say to her?
That's a great question. It really is a great question. See, my thing with that is, like, you do you. Like, if someone hates to exercise and they're in that kind of a mindset that it's like, listen, this is where I am, I'm fine with it, come what may, then great. Like, I'm not trying to like force anything on anyone. This stuff feels good to me, but everyone's different. And what people like to do, everyone's different. Like, some people like to lift weights, some people like to run marathons, some people like to do puzzles, some people like to, eat Italian food. It's all great. And if you're happy doing what you're doing, keep doing it. Like, I'm the last person to say, try to convince someone that they shouldn't be happy doing what's making them happy.
But Mitch, more to my point, thank you for that. What could I say to her about the benefits of exercise?
I would ask, like, is there any, like, is she complaining about anything? Does she feel good? Does she feel bad? Like, I mean, I would say if someone's in that mindset and yet they're also complaining about all the pain they're in, for example, this is an example. What I would try to say is, and I think this I think is actually a good way to approach it, is people think that exercise has to be this massive undertaking. It's like, all right, I'm doing nothing right now, but I gotta go to the gym 4 times a week, I gotta spend an hour down there, I gotta sweat, I gotta do blah, 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 blah. And that's one of the reasons I do it. I put a little 10-minute workout on the board every day. Like, it doesn't have to be a massive, huge effort. It can just be something. Like, it can be a walk around. If you're doing nothing, and then twice a day, or once a day, or twice a week, you just walk around the block, that's something. So try to approach it like that. Try to find out, is there something they like doing? Like, maybe they think exercising has to be a bunch of push-ups. And then it doesn't. It can be just walking around the block if they like to do that. So that would be how I approach that, if that helps.
Can I respond to that?
Oh.
Yeah, I think the thing that she might respond to is exercise will help you be able to live independently longer. It will help you keep your balance so you're less likely to fall. So if, wherever she's living, if she's isn't getting a lot of assistance, exercise will help her stay that way. And I think those are the things that people who don't want to exercise, but they do want to be independent, could benefit from here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And could I just say about releasing endorphins, there's something that physiologically happens to your body, and you feel better, and you just feel better. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did you want?
Yeah, that's good stuff. That is a good point. Like, trying to figure out what benefits that would really speak to her, which is again a very individual thing.
Well, put aside, circulation is certainly an issue in exercise, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. When you exercise, your blood moves. Your blood flows through your body a lot better, which helps with recovery from just daily activities, from injury, from whatever. The better blood flow you have, the better you're going to move, the better the body's going to react to things and respond to things and recover from things. Absolutely.
My question really is, for people who can't really get down on the floor very easily, what exercises would do the same thing to strengthen or be aware of those?
Yeah, that's a real good question. There are some, like you can do the reverse presses that I showed the video from on the floor. You can do those standing against a wall. You can just do them once you get the feel for doing them against a wall, you don't even need a wall, you just do them right there. So there's always something you can do in a different position. I was just kind of showing some basic things, but you don't have to get down on the floor to do some of these, to get the effect of some of these things.
One of the things that I was going to say is that we have a real variety of exercises here. Everything, like you can name all the things that Mitch does, or we have the swimming pool that Kathleen does, we have armchair, yoga, and we have yoga, and we have armchair yoga. Different, and that's a really exceptional for the size we are here. We're not a big operation, but we do have a lot of different things that you can choose. And I'm not gonna give up either what we do every Friday, which is to dance. And you've heard that here, we like to dance. And we have, I think we're still doing some other dance groups here too, aren't we?
I'm not sure, I know we do the Friday one at 10, right down the
Yeah,
hall.
well, the Friday one I think is still going on.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, what is
Questions or comments? And like I said before, I'm down in the fitness center. If you have any questions, pop on down there. I'll show you how to do some of these things. We can talk about specifically whatever you have going on, because again, everyone's different, and how people respond to things is different. What people are able to do is different. But the general idea of things is consistent. You know, the principle of kind of how to build on these things. So.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you.
Thank you.